Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to Cabinet on Friday, 26th of September. I'm your Chairman, Leader of the Council, Mark Stevenson. As is usual, I will literally just jump straight into the agenda. So, first of all, can I have any apologies for absence, please?
None received, Leader.
We have a full house. Excellent. Our agenda item number 2 is minutes of the last meeting, which I'm happy to move, and I need a seconder.
Seconded, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Henderson. And can I have an agreement on that, please? Okay, I'll sign that in a minute. Number 3 is declarations of interest. Can I ask that anybody with a declaration of interest makes it now? Okay, there are none. Number 4 is announcements by the Leader of the Council. There was one, but it's already covered in the Treasury's report, so I'll leave it till then. So there's nothing from me. Number 5, announcements by Cabinet members. Councillor Henderson.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And I just think it's worth saying a few words about yesterday's Jobs and Skills Fair, which took place in the Princess Theatre. But before I give you the big picture and the good story, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background on how well that Jobs and Skills Fair is received, and also what people think about it. If you look at last year, out of all the people what turned up, there was about 900 candidates came through the door of the Princess Theatre within 4 hours, and the rating they gave back from when they were asked the question what they thought about it, 83% last year said it was excellent. And then when you ask the same question to the exhibitors on what their views were, 98% said it was so good they'd like to return this year. So we had over 50 odd exhibitors again this year, and I'm pleased to say we broke the record of last year. We had over 1,000 people, or around about 1,000 people, come through that door. And as I said yesterday, when we were opening the event, when those doors open, I believe those doors open for a number of reasons. One is for people looking for their first job. 2, for people perhaps looking for a fresh start. And 3, looking for a chance to develop new skills. And when you look around those exhibitors, around that hall, and you see the truly sort of true experiences that people can gain around there, the interactive side of things. We even had the chief executive driving a lorry, virtually. And he said he didn't crash, but that did show there was a crash on the screen. But he'll make his own excuses for that. But you also had Galloper there doing virtual reality with people climbing these massive wind turbines, giving people the opportunity of that. And that's just a couple of things. And I'm not going to pinpoint it, but there was one really good example on one of the stands from last year, a young lady who was actually sitting on the stand who gained full employment last year. So I just want to finish off, Leader, by saying that one example to me shows how important it is that we make sure that this offer is open and available to all our residents across this district. We know there are barriers that we need to break down. We know there are people out there we need to get back into work, not just for their own point of view, but also for their health and well-being as well. So there's lots more we need to do, and I'm sure I speak for the rest of the Cabinet that it's really important that we carry on with this Jobs and Skills Fair and the Tender for Growth fortnight, because it's an excellent showcase for the whole of the district and the wider area of what we are doing and what we are achieving at Tendring District Council. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. And before I go to Chief Exec, because I've learned you don't let him go first, a couple of my own comments around that. So, like many of the cabinet that were there on the day, it was the sheer diverse nature of many of the businesses there. I mean, we're not just about care and tourism. And I'm going to pick out one only because it was their first time there, but it was Penguin Books, who employ over 700 people, which is an interesting fact to find out. I didn't realise just how many people they employed over there. I mean, I always knew they were quite large, but 700 people, and a lot of them work from home. Another interesting fact, and I'm going to steal this from the Chief Exec because he always does it for me, is that they have over 40 million books in their warehouse. And taking a comment that was given to me by the portfolio holder, is how well they do with the secondary businesses as well. You know, all those 700 people, they come, they stay in some of our places, they use our services, and it's that extra mile that people go and spend money in the area. So it was a great event. I can't say anything more than that. Sausage sandwich was great. You know, we all got a bit of breakfast, didn't we? So, and with further ado, having taken half of what Ian was going to say, Councillor Davidson, Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. And yes, you're right. You did take the one around the Penguin Books, and it was interesting because a number of companies like Penguin Books actually said they want to raise their profile, and so we're pleased to be there and pleased to be a part and seeing them. I also just want to say a huge thank you to all those staff who have organised it, because it is a huge thing. These things don't happen on a whim and just sort of pop up in the day and then happen. It takes months and months and months of planning, of organising, of writing out, of getting the businesses to take part, and all the myriad of administration behind it. And it's one of the things which, despite all the other things we have going on, our staff manage and pull off. You know, Airshow being one, recently the jobs fair, and this actual whole fortnight, to the Tendering for Growth fortnight, a whole myriad of different events there. So I'd just like to say, recognise and say thank you to all the staff who've been involved in making it such a great event.
I think we totally agree. Right, moving us on to agenda item number 6, matters referred to the Cabinet by the Council. There are no matters on this occasion. Number 7, this is matters referred to Cabinet by committee. References from Resource and Service Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Welcome to the Chair. Update on corporate projects, pages 15 to 18. So I'm happy to move this. We put our comments into the report. Hopefully the ONS has seen that. I'm not going to read it out because it's quite lengthy. I just wanted to sit there and thank the members of the Resource and Overview and Scrutiny Committee for the work they do, not just on the projects, but all the work they do across the year. It's very valuable, and it's one of the reasons why we have such good governance in our council when others seem to fail. So thank you for that. I've come to the comments. I'm going to ask for a seconder, please.
Leader, quite happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. I was just wondering if there was any other comments in the room. Councillor Honeywood.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, as I say, I don't think there's much to say because it's obviously come from the Scrutiny Committee and you're aware of their views. And I know there is one outstanding question from the committee, and you've already been in touch to say that you're looking at providing an answer for that, which is great. And also, there was a supplementary, which I've also tagged on the end. So I'm sure the committee will look forward to receiving those. But apart from that, I don't think there's anything to add.
Thank you, Councillor Honeywood. You're absolutely right. In fact, we were only talking about that yesterday. So hopefully you'll see a response in the near future. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Can I have an agreement on that, please? Agreed. Well, thank you very much. That moves us on to agenda item number 8, which is matter referred to Cabinet by committee, referring from planning, a reference from Planning Policy and Local Planning Committee. This is the draft Hartley Gardens supplementary planning guidance. I believe this is over to you, Councillor Baker.
It is indeed, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be able to introduce this report and the draft the draft supplementary planning document in relation to the Hartley Gardens development, and the recommendation made by the Planning Policy and Local Plan Committee at their most recent meeting that this document and the associated evidence base be published for consultation with residents and other interested stakeholders. As Cabinet are well aware, and we're all well aware, within the Local Plan Part 2 there is a specific planning policy in regards to this, which is the largest area for development by the garden community for up to 1,700 homes, together with the relevant infrastructure that requires such a document, which provides a clear framework for how development should come forward and setting out this council's expectations around the quality of design, movement and access, green infrastructure and the delivery of supporting infrastructure. You can see, Leader, that my comments in regard to the committee's recommendation are on pages 19 and 20. The supplementary planning document is not a long document, only 68 pages, but it actually says a lot. And I will emphasise again that this document outlines what this council expects to see when planning applications come forward. And some of us have received briefings on this subject more than once. I think I'm up to 7 so far. And it was mentioned at the last meeting of the committee that even if you'd seen it before, it was definitely not boring, because you know, you'd always pick something up that you might have missed. And I think, Leader, it would be wrong of me not to mention that the extremely hard work that has gone into the production of this document by Homes England, supported throughout by the officers of this council's local plan team, ably led by Mr. Paul Woods, who has been a driving force behind getting this completed. I know we don't normally name individual officers, but his commitment to this has been exemplary, and I think we as Cabinet should acknowledge that. If Cabinet agrees the recommendation, it is proposed that there will be a 6-week consultation with, as before, 2 in-person events, one at the Albert Edward Hall in Legerton Drive during the day and one in the evening at the Town Hall. And there will, of course, be the opportunity for anyone to look at the documents, consult at libraries within Clacton, Jaywick and Holland-on-Sea, as well as being able to comment online, by email, or even speak to our officers on the phone. The recommendation is shown on page 20 and states that Cabinet approves the Hartley Gardens draft supplementary planning document, in brackets August 2025, and associated evidence base listed as background documents for publication and consultation with residents and other interested stakeholders. I commend it to Cabinet, and I would encourage anyone that wishes to comment that they do so, whichever they wish to. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Councillor Baker. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I'm very pleased to second this, and I refer to pages 73, 74, 75, and it's around the vision for economic growth and future employment, which is a really important part when you're creating these developments, to make sure that the economic growth and employment benefits are there. But it also talks about active travel, walk and cycling, which is really, really good news for the future. We need to make those plans and have those plans in place and the right infrastructure there to do that, because people need to access the things they need to access locally for their everyday needs. But then on page 74, 75, it talks about employment land, 7 hectares of land within the site for employment use to generate on-site jobs. But also, while it's talking about creating those employment opportunities and jobs within those sites and the facilities, and also small maker space places where people can possibly work from home, and smaller industries or shops. It also emphasises the fact and making sure that we still look at our town centre as really important, and encourage people to use the town centre when we're doing these developments. It emphasises that 2 or 3 times in this document, that we want to make sure that the town centre gains from these type of developments. And we know how much investment we are about to make in these in the town centre of Clacton. So that's going to be a gain all round if we can increase the footfall as well for that area. But I'm more than happy to second this report. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. A couple of comments from me. Yeah, one of the things that I remember this when this came a long time ago. I walked round with the ward councillor then, Councillor Placey, with Homes England, and we discussed about what it would look like and everything else. And I'm pleased to see a lot of what we would discuss is actually in the report that's in front of you now. I must admit I haven't had it 7 times, but by my reckoning I've had it 4. I've had an all members briefing, I've had a cabinet report, and I was actually on the planning and local plan. So, and I must say that our officers who presented this to us were unfaltering and fantastic in their delivery of what's in front of us. So I wholeheartedly support the recommendation for consultation with residents and stakeholders. So that's my views. Is there any other views in the room before I go? Nope. Okay, in that case, it's been moved and seconded. Can I have an agreement, please? Thank you. That moves us on to number 9, which is Leader of the Council items. There are none this time, I'll be glad to know. Number 10 is a report of portfolio holder for corporate finance and governance. That'll be me. And this is the Treasury Management Report. So I've got some notes that I've written down because it's always easier for me to capture this. And I'd just like to say thank you again to all my finance officers for all the work they've done in keeping this council sustainable and on track. We won't talk about interest rates just yet. It's been another successful year navigating our way through the investment markets and managing our loans and cash flows. Our cash flow position today includes the significant grant funding we have received from the government relating to the LUF, the CRP1 and the CRP2, sorry about the acronyms, schemes which will earn us a little bit more of extra investment income for us ahead of us spending it over the coming months. Some of you may have already seen our external auditor's value for money report that was presented to Audit Committee yesterday. Their report was very welcomed and set out a clean bill of health, so to speak, across the following 3 important themes: financial sustainability, governance, and improving economy efficiency and effectiveness. All of these underpin our financial planning process, which includes our treasury activities, which both myself and the Resources and Services and Overview and Scrutiny have expressed, Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and have expressed their thanks to the relevant staff within our finance team. In terms of the Resources and Services Overview and Scrutiny Committee, more general points following their review of the strategy for 2025-26 earlier in the year, they are noted and my comments set within the report. The committee's ongoing and helpful work makes a valuable contribution to our successful financial planning processes, as I've just mentioned. In terms of the Treasury strategy for 25-26, it has not been necessary to consider any changes in light of the committee review. In terms of current Treasury performance, interest rates remain relatively high at the moment, and we are not subject to any volatility in the terms of our borrowing costs. So in that sense, we can enjoy the full net benefit of the current high interest rate environment given the level of investment income it continues to generate for us. With current rates expected to continue for a while, the investment returns will therefore make a bigger contribution to our underlying budget position over both 26-27 and 27-28, the potential last 2 years of tendering district council before its new successor, unitary council, is established from as early as April 2028. It is also worth highlighting that comments within the report about the investment property we own at Peer Avenue, Clacton. The lease is up next year and officers have been requested to explore our options going forward. The investment strategy put in place under the previous administration sets out strong governance and risks management arrangements which will form part of the review. We need to continue to maximise returns from this investment, although it is unlikely to be at the levels currently being experienced given the current challenging economic outlook. However, the money we had earned to date from this investment has in fact paid a big chunk of the original purchase price back. So again, we remain in a strong position against which to consider our options to secure value for money and good stewardship of taxpayers' money and the assets that will be paid for. Compared to last year's equivalent report, I've included a bit more explanation around the total level of investments for the year that I'm sure comes across as a surprisingly large figure within the report. I hope the additional commentary adequately explains the position, which is based on the repetitive nature of our treasury income during the activities during the year. Next week sees the start of October and the season that will see a number of key financial reports coming forward, and it won't be long until we start our review of next year's annual Treasury strategy for consultation with the Resource and Service Overview and Scrutiny Committee. However, it is useful to look back over the past year as a report we have in front of us done, and we'll see a 6-month Treasury review at our November meeting as part of the quarterly financial performance reporting cycle. So if I haven't sent everybody to sleep with those comments, I do need a seconder. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Leader, and I'd echo the thanks to our Section 151 officer and all our financial staff for this comprehensive report. Along with the more general outturn report we considered back in July, and as the Leader stated, this report demonstrates again the strong financial management ethos we have here at the Council. It's good to see that the money we've earned to date and the money we estimate to earn from our various investment activities continues to help us not only in balancing the books, but also give us some flexibility to support the investments in our priorities. So it's often complementing the money we receive from the government for capital investment. With the ongoing support of the Resources and Services Overview and Scrutiny Committee, we should hopefully be able to navigate the last 2 financial years that TDC remains in existence, whilst also ensuring that we continue to balance the maximisation of opportunities for investment across the district and maintain the ongoing financial stability of the Council. So overall, I'm happy to second this report and the recommendations set out on page 108 of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Do I have any comments on the Treasury strategy? Nope. Okay. In that case, it's been moved by myself. The recommendations on page 108. It's been seconded by Councillor Barry. Can I have an agreement, please? Thank you very much. That brings us on to agenda item number 11, and that's a Cabinet Member item, Portfolio Holder for Housing and Planning, approval of draft housing strategy for 2026 to 2030 for consultation. And I believe this one's also yours, Councillor Baker.
It is, thank you, Leader. In this report, I'm seeking Cabinet's approval to launch a 6-week consultation on the draft housing strategy. Local authorities are not required by government to have a formal housing strategy, but they are expected to adopt a strategic approach to housing in their local areas to deliver a thriving housing market and address local needs. The Council currently has a housing strategy that was approved in 2020 and which covers the period until the end of 2025. And this strategy follows on from that and will cover the period 2026 to 2030. This ensures there's a slight overlap into the tenure of the new unitary authority, however that will look. That will no doubt want to form its own views on its own strategy as a result of local government reorganisation. And also as a result of devolution, the Mayor will have a greater voice on strategic housing and planning matters. As we are all aware, there's been much change recently at central government level and especially in relation to housing policy. And in July of this year, Government published a policy paper on delivering a decade of renewal for social and affordable housing. And this is relevant to the Council in its role both as a social housing landlord and as a housing enabler. Colchester City Council has a housing strategy covering the period 2022 to 2027, and Braintree District Council covers 2023 to 2028. Those councils, along with Essex County Council, will be invited to comment on this draft strategy. As can be seen from pages 139 onwards, the draft strategy sets out notable achievements along with ambitions across 4 strategic priorities. And those are maintain and improve our existing housing stock. And this focuses on this council's role as a landlord, the management of its homes, and ensuring compliance with the statutory obligations along with the consumer standards and tenant satisfaction measures. The second is preventing and reducing homelessness. As we're all aware, homelessness has increased and the majority of councils facing significant cost pressures, and this priority will set out what the council is doing to reduce expenditure and increase its prevention work. And the third, delivering with partners high quality homes, and that focuses on the delivery of affordable housing in the district. through the local plan and other means, if need be. And the last is supporting people in their own homes and communities, and that is priorities aimed at those living in the private sector, the privately rented sector, and those owning their own homes, and sets out what the council is doing to ensure housing standards are maintained across all those 10 years. This draft strategy also contributes to the corporate plan, our vision for 2024 to 2028, financial sustainability and openness, both the running of the council's housing stock through the housing revenue account, and the provision of a homelessness service through the general fund are significant undertakings from a financial perspective. Both currently present challenges that influence the financial sustainability of the two financial accounts that the council runs, both for different reasons. The second is raising aspirations and creating opportunities. It's fair to assume that most residents in the district either aspire to own their own home or at the very least have a stable, secure home environment that is in good condition and meets their needs. And it's this aspiration that the draft strategy seeks to support. And the last one here is working with partners to improve quality of life. The delivery of new homes in the district can only be done in partnership with others. The council is part of the North East Essex Health Alliance, along with other Essex-wide groups where housing is often a key topic of discussion. And we're also signed up to a number of joint protocols with partner agencies about how housing support is provided to those who need it. Hopefully, once Cabinet has approved that the draft strategy can be consulted on, as I previously stated, a 6-week consultation will be undertaken. This consultation will include the Council's statutory officers and wider service areas, councillors, the public, as well as Essex County Council, Braintree District Council, Colchester City Council, along with other key organisations in the district with an interest in how the council delivers its housing service. The draft strategy has already been forwarded to the members of the Tenants Panel and briefly discussed at their last meeting held earlier this week, who have been asked to comment and inform other residents and tenants of the consultation in order that as many of those are able to comment. It will also be supplied to the Resources and Services Overview and Scrutiny Committee's Task and Finish Group on Housing and Homelessness for their comments, and I would encourage as many people and organisations to comment on the draft strategy. A set of consultation questions will be prepared to facilitate consultation responses and to aid in their analysis and presentation of the results, and you'll see there's a delegation to the Corporate Director in consultation with me to approve those questions prior to the consultation commencing. Obviously, there will also be the opportunity not just to answer those questions, but put forward any other comments that may be relevant. This will all be set out in a future Cabinet report recommending the strategy for approval. Changes made to the strategy of consequence will also be highlighted, and then Cabinet, once satisfied, will recommend them to full council for adoption, hopefully in January. Leader, the recommendations are shown on page 132 and I commend them to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, Leader, and I'm really pleased to be able to follow on from Councillor Baker's comprehensive introduction of this report. I fully support the recommendation that this draft strategy document be approved for wider consultation. Good quality housing and underpins good health and well-being, and I feel it's important that we have an up-to-date housing strategy in place, even though we're heading for local government reorganisation. Our council has a very good track record in maintaining tenant satisfaction, and I'm pleased to see this strategy focus on improving and maintaining our existing housing stock. Responding to the homelessness challenge has to be one of our priorities, and I'm pleased to see that it is. And I know that Councillor Baker's leadership, a lot is being done in respect of this, and of course we are expecting an update on the homeless and rough sleeping strategy for approval later in the year. It's important, I feel, that the report back to Cabinet in December reflects on the achievements made under the current strategy. And I too, along with Councillor Baker, encourage residents, voluntary groups and all those with an interest in how we deliver our wider housing services to respond to the consultation once it goes live. More than happy to second the report, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. I was wondering if there are any comments on the floor. I thought the previous portfolio holder might have some, so Councillor Honeywood.
Thank you, Chairman. I believe this is going to go to a working group within the scrutiny committee, so I won't say much on this. There's just one thing I touched on in cabinet some time ago, and I'd like to ask the portfolio holder, and that was around the residency clause, which is touched on page 143, and it states it was the allocations policy was reviewed on page 152. At that time, I spoke about our residency clause was for 3 years, and I remember when I raised it before, the cabinet members said they would be looking at this because other councils have longer periods within their residency clause. So it appears from the document this is stayed at 3 years. I wondered why the decision he'd made to stay at 3 years is that decision and not to change it.
Can I just ask what the second page you mentioned?
It's 143 and 152.
Well, that's why I couldn't find it. I was looking at the wrong page completely. Sorry. Can I just look and then I'll come back to you? Am I on? Yes. So when we consulted on the housing allocation policy earlier in the year, one of the questions was, should we keep it at 3 or increase it? Unfortunately, that consultation, as far as I can recall, there wasn't a huge amount of people that responded. However, as far as I can, like I say, without looking at any notes and looking back at other reports I may have got, I think it was, from the consultation, it was leave it as it is, don't muck around with it. Obviously, that was earlier this year. We'd only just had LGR. So my personal view is we leave it as it is within this strategy. And then if a new authority, bearing in mind that it will cover a larger area, can make the decision as to whether they think that residency policy, that residency criteria of 3 years is right or it needs to be increased. I hope that answers the question.
I think also I'd just add a little bit. It is only going out for consultation. This isn't the decision as such. So, and you also said you've got your ONS working group. I think you've got a couple of opportunities there to get your thoughts in, evidence-based sort of ideas about what you think the proper length of term is. And that will be something we can take into consideration once the consultation's finished.
So can I just clarify, Councillor Honeywood, you mentioned about it's going to the task and finish group. That will be when for their next meeting, when that's set up. So then they'll be able to have a full discussion with officers about the content and what they would like to see or not see, or any comments about the strategy. So that will be, I don't know when, but it's in the pipeline.
If memory serves me correctly, it's going to a working group, and that's in October.
You may know the date rather than me. But
I can't remember the date because there were several working groups and obviously several dates, but I believe it's October. I could be wrong, but I believe it is.
Yes, it is, yes.
We just know there's going to be one. All right, so it's been moved. It's been seconded. There are no other comments. So can I go to the vote, please? Thank you very much. So the penultimate one is the report of the portfolio holder for partnerships. This is the adoption of a health and wellbeing strategy for tendering, and I believe this is you, Councillor Placey.
It is indeed. Thank you, Leader. As you may know, the draft strategy went out to consultation for 8 weeks, and this revised strategy is before you, taking into account the feedback we received for adoption today. It is a result of a lot of hard work by our officers in the health team, and I would like to thank them all, including Jeanette Thomason, who did the bulk of the research and first drafts and has recently retired. So, our vision is to help people to live healthier, independent lives for longer. Therefore, taking into account the wider determinants of health, we are looking at all the areas the Council can help with this, be it better housing conditions or providing employment opportunities, looking at the prevention of long-term conditions, as well as recognising that help is needed for those already living with them. I feel strongly that we must start with getting it right for our young people so that they can go on to live healthier lives. That's part of the reason for myself and Councillor Barry getting our heads together to facilitate projects that recognise physical activity and health and well-being go hand in hand. This work is laying the foundations for results that will come forward in the years ahead. You will see a list of things that we are already involved in with partners. Most of our work in this area goes beyond the health team, both within the Council with colleagues in housing, planning, economic development, and of course external partners too, especially the North East Essex Alliance, which will be more important as the future local government and NHS changes take place. I would like to take this opportunity to quote a message received from Councillor Guglielmi, as he could not attend today. He says, as you would expect, the strategy covers all the important indices that we all strive to address, and the strategic objectives obviously reflect very well what it aims to tackle. From physical activity, child obesity, to mental health and social isolation. I particularly like the section on creativity and culture, and it links in very well to the corporate plan. So well done. I think I'll leave it there, and I move the recommendations on page 157.
Thank you very much, Councillor Placey. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Barry?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Placey, and I'm very happy to second this report and support the recommendations as outlined on page 157. This health and wellbeing strategy sets out a vision for Tenbrin for the next 5 years, and the key elements in the strategy are about building partnerships and collaborative working locally, regionally and nationally. There are many high-level organisational changes in the pipeline and we will obviously respond to those and are responding to them, but we need to be clear and focus on what we can do here and now in our district and highlight the opportunity for localism and cross-working opportunities. In producing this strategy, there has been consultation with residents, local organisations, stakeholders and partners across all disciplines. Most importantly, our administration, and particularly this Cabinet, has demonstrated it can work together across all portfolios to produce strategies that deliver for our residents. This common purpose, which is embodied in this strategy, is central to our success. Through consultation and discussion, we've been able to come up and develop proposals for innovative community-led projects across our district. And there is a commitment in this strategy to provide funding for some pilot projects to build further improvements in public health. Whether it's walking groups, community sports, wellbeing workshops or inclusive fitness sessions, these pilots will be shaped by local voices and local needs. By bringing services together and creating joined-up initiatives that deliver for people where they live, in their community centres, in their public halls and open spaces, parks and playgrounds, in their everyday lives, we can make better health and we can deliver better health and more active lifestyles. And this is not just an aspiration, but we can make it a reality. Through this strategy, we will be combining the strengths of both our portfolios and once again demonstrate our commitment to investing in our residents and providing opportunity for preventing illness through better physical health and mental well-being, stronger social connections and a high quality of life for all. So once again, I'm very happy to second this important strategy and support the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Councillor Honeywood. To you first.
Oh, sorry, you looked in a different direction. I thought you were indicating to someone else. Okay, yeah, had a look through this, and there is a large number of projects in there. And what I notice is that the vast majority, if not all, are working in partnership with other organisations and various organisations. So my question to the Cabinet member is, as Cabinet member, how or what method are you using to monitor these, because there are so many, so that you become aware if anything falls behind schedule or is not going to plan?
Well, that's part of my update programme with officers. We go through the projects that we are working with, and especially if we're funding any of those. And then also we've got, I attend the Alliance meetings, I attend the place group meetings, and we can pick everything up from there. I think we bring in our planning officers when we need to those updates. And it's just I rely on my officers as well, as you would expect, to highlight if there's anything that we need to address.
Thank you very much to Councillor Honeywood, and good answer from the portfolio holder. Mr. Davidson.
If I may, it's not on that point. It was just a more general point that I was at a conference this week, and actually it's setting the new framework, the new picture for health. So it touches on here the 10-year NHS plan, which is being launched. We've also got the local government reorganisation, which obviously we keep talking about, but it will change the landscape, and the ICB is changing, so we'll no longer be Suffolk and North East Essex. It will be a single Essex-wide ICB. And so I think that the importance of this document also is to be a platform for going into that new local government reorganisation, and also the new ICB, that actually it's putting the framework for tendering. The document is longer than going to 2028 when we ultimise, because you don't want to do what we call cliff edge. Everything finishes on 2028. The new authority's got to do everything in its first few weeks and putting in strategies. But it will also set the framework for those partnerships going forward, and also recreating or creating new partnerships, because the configuration of the public sector for Essex is going to be so different within 2 to 3 years. So I think that documents like this, like the housing strategy, it's so important that actually they do set that framework. They're not fettering the discretion of the new authority, i.e. they're so long that they mean that they have got a long period, but on the other hand, you're not creating cliff edges for the new authority. So I think that's really helpful. And in terms of the challenges, both in terms of the joint strategic needs assessment and what's been lifted and put in here around our challenges are our socio-demographics. It is about continuing as well the work which has seen us for the first time ever improve our health index, and for the first time, and also reduce us being from the second worst figures for suicide in the country to significantly improve that. It's not where we want it to be still. It's not good now, but actually we're to the right trend by the amount of work that's going into it. And I think this endorses that, going into those new structures, about saying how important it is that work continues. And probably for our authority, that is more important than for so many other authorities, because of the socio-demographics, because of the numbers which we have, and because of the challenges. So I think that's why it is really important that this forms part, it doesn't become just something sitting on the shelf. It forms part of what goes into the new authority, and assists in the formulation of the new authority's policies, of which some of you will be a member, and I hope you'll take that forward when you take it into the new authority.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. Councillor Barry, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just in response to Councillor Honeywood, just an example. I think we are looking to build into any new pilot or initiative some strategic overview and some evaluation. So I think just this week I had a meeting with the tendering stroke support service chief executive about an initiative to provide further rehabilitation for stroke survivors through a facility, a gym facility in Brightlingsea. So they would, we're setting up a pilot project there where there would be 10 sessions for people who are suitably, looking to move on in their rehabilitation. And then there would be an evaluation of that with those people and the nurses and physios to see what worked and what could be improved. So I think in all our initiatives, and certainly within both strategies, particularly the sport and activity strategy, there is an inbuilt review process. So it shows that any investment we're making is producing results, and that we learn from those, those pilots and so on. So I think hopefully you can be reassured, and I'm sure that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee will be keeping an eye on any expenditure and investment, and we'll be more than happy to respond to any further inquiries kind of down the line. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. I've got a couple of comments of my own, actually, and it kind of echoes what Mr. Davidson said. If you'd have put this strategy out last year, LGR wasn't around, we had the #1 ICB, then all of a sudden it all changed. A strategy is only as good as the moment it's written, and you well know that as a previous portfolio holder. But we do need to give a steer to the new unitary when it comes in as to the issues around tendering. So Braintree, Colchester, I'm going to use all the others, Oxford, Malden, they've all got different health and wellbeing issues that they need to deal with, which won't, some will be in resemblance to tendering, but not all of them. And so it's key for us to sit there and show what the problems are, what we are doing, we think are the solutions going forward, hence the strategy. And I think recommendation A, and I just want to read a line out, it says, noting that the majority of responses to the online survey either strongly agree or agree that the document effectively identifies the key health issues faced by tendering residents, kind of captures that perfectly for me. And as Councillor Placey said, you've got Councillor Guglielmi with his comments, and he's obviously the deputy group leader for the main opposition, showing, and that demonstrates, as you said yourself, strong party agreement, cross-party agreement around the support for what's good for residents. So I think the strategy in itself is a good. As it comes to monitoring and things like that, I'm sure some of these might not meet the target, because things are still in flux right now. If you ask me who we're going to be with in a unitary, I couldn't answer that question. Nobody can. So to ask further questions about how you're going to do something which might be dependent on how that settles, how the ICB comes about, and all the other bits, I think you're going to have to give it a little bit of time to figure out how that's going. But as Councillor Placey said, she's on those boards, and she'll be right at the front, trying to make sure that we deliver what's best for residents. But lastly, I'd just like to thank all those who input to it. This is not just our work, this is our partners' work, and the fact that they've signed off on it as well. I think it's important that we've developed this, and I'm looking forward to the outcomes that hopefully it will deliver. Thank you very much. Right. So it's been moved by Councillor Placey, been seconded by Councillor Barry, sorry, I was just sidetracked. I've got no problem supporting it. The recommendations are on pages 156 to 157. Do I have an agreement? Thank you very much. That brings us on to the last item, which management team items, and there are no matters on this occasion. So I hereby close the meeting.